nowadays I believe is an Indian. You look at our problems and how God or divinity is solving it. Effectively, our economy looks bigger and better because our competitors, our peers' economy is looking in a bad shape. Now you put these three things together, talent, capital, infrastructure, the roadmap to Viksit Bharat gets created. So we will become Viksit Bharat undoubtedly. Where is the question? Our savings habit is good, but our investment habit is bad. One generation of Indians will have to work hard. There's no choice. A right entrepreneur will figure out a way to ride India wave. I think next government's priority will be healthcare and education, both using digitization. Take a call based on how your risk-taking ability is, not based on market. Thank you, Rajesh and Shrikara, for inviting me over here. The topic given to me is roadmap to Viksit Bharat. Let me first start in a lighter vein and then we'll go to serious stuff. So, how many of you believe in God? I mean, most of us. And even if you are not believing, you better start believing. Because in case He is there and you don't believe, then there is a problem. And if He's not there and you don't believe, then anyway, there's no gain, no loss. So might as well believe. But the more important thing is that God nowadays, I believe, is an Indian. You look at our problems and how God or divinity is solving it. If you had inside information on oil, that Israel Hamas will go to war, Russia Ukraine will still continue to fight, Red Sea disruption will stop the flow of oil, shipping rates and oil tanker rates will zoom to the sky, and Russia and Saudi-led OPEC and non-OPEC will cut oil production by 4 million barrels a day. All of us would have assumed oil at $150, but there's someone upstairs who said, don't worry, I'll keep oil at $75 to $80. You look at growth forecast, we started the year at 6, we are ending the year at 8. I mean, we normally go wrong in growth forecast, but not by 25% margin. This year, and in Bangalore, it's touchy subject, but they say monsoon will be without El Nino like last year. So you just have 4-5 months to survive. After that, rains will come. I mean, somewhere there looks like divine intervention to our problem. Now, do you get convinced that the God is Indian? Let me give you a second reason why you should get convinced. I think Uparwala also knows that we are Indian. Will play well to win 10 matches and in final will lose. So he's ensuring that we don't lose in final. If you see Birbal ki kahani, Akbar asked Birbal to make a line bigger without touching it, and Birbal drew a small line below and the line above started looking bigger. God is also doing the same thing to us. We are doing well, but God has ensured that our peers continue to score self-goal. So Russia got eliminated as a peer after their invasion of Ukraine. China is struggling with real estate in Taiwan. Their growth rate is now 5% and 4%. South Africa is on the downhill and God is pushing it to go further down. Brazil had all the great fundamentals, but they got communist government. Effectively, our economy looks bigger and better because our competitors, our peers' economy is looking in a bad shape. Now, this only God can do. Earlier, we used to score self-goals. Now, God is ensuring that others score self-goal and we don't. So, undoubtedly, there is a God and it is an Indian. Final proof why there is divinity. If you look at Panchtantra story, there were 2 cats and a monkey, and 2 cats found a piece of bread and monkey ate it. We were in geopolitics always the cat. Monkey will go and take out our bread. So for example, we were importing oil from Iran. It is our closest neighbor who can give oil to us, so logistics cost was virtually low. They were giving us in rupee. That money was kept in UCO bank account 10 years, 15 years back. And that rupee was used to buy goods from Indian traders at inflated price. We could not have got a better rupee than that. One day American monkey came and said, we are levying sanctions on Iran, don't buy oil from them. We stopped buying oil. What happened? China kept on importing that oil, and our trade deficit with China is today at $100 billion a year. They became competitive using cheaper Iranian oil, and we became expensive by buying costly Saudi oil. Now we have become the Panchtantraka's monkey. When America put sanction on Russia, we said, fair enough, that's your battle, but I have to import oil from where I can buy the cheapest. And you can do whatever you want to do, but I will buy oil from where it is available and it is cheaper. To Russia, we said, can you take rupee payment? Today, lakhs of crore of Russian rupees lying in our banks. And more importantly, after that, we went to America and said that, incidentally, we also want to make fighter planes and we need jet engine technology. Can you give to us, or otherwise we'll go to France? And US is saying that fair enough, I'll give you F-16, F-35, whatever jet engine technology you want. So transition of India from Panchtantra ki billi to Panchtantra ka monkey, that is purely divine. So now I've convincingly proven to you that there is a God upstairs. He or she is an Indian and he or she is taking care. So we will become Viksit Bharat undoubtedly. Where is the question? On a serious note, I think for the first time we have been given a goal of becoming Viksit Bharat. It's not an easy task, but at least a foundation is being laid to achieve that difficult task. I don't think so we are in a position to take it for granted that in 2047 India will become a developed country, but we are putting building blocks on which this foundation can be laid. The first building block is retention of talent in India. If you go to IIT, IIMs in the prior to 2000, almost 90% batch will go abroad. Opportunities were there. Today, 50, 60, 70% batch is staying back in India. Our talent, instead of going abroad, is staying back. And that is the first big advantage. Now we are hearing that even talent which went out is returning back. About 75 scientists from US and Europe are returning back to India for doing basic work. When we exported Satya Nadellas and Sundar Pichais and Arvind Krishnas of the world, they started working there and today are heading Microsoft and Google and Adobe and so on and so forth. When this talent stays back in India, will they create Microsoft? Answer is no. But will they create a company which will be equivalent of smaller version of Microsoft? Answer is quite likely. Today, Rajesh bhai, there is a news about a startup in India where NVIDIA is very bullish, and I don't remember the name, but I'm sure many of you would have got it on WhatsApp. Now, can you ever imagine NVIDIA becoming bullish on a startup in India for their AI chip related work? 1 out of 4 chips designed in the world is today designed and developed in and around Bangalore. There are 230 global capability centers working in and around Bangalore which are designing chips. From those design centers, some Nandan Nilekani, some Narayan Murthy, some Azim Premji will come out and they'll set up their own chip designing unit eventually. So talent retention is the biggest advantage India is getting. Now, talent without capital has no meaning. You require capital to support talent. Today, Fortunately, we have private equity venture capital system where people are able to raise capital if they have business idea. Today, it's not that Tata's son or Birla's daughter or Ambani's son will be able to set up businesses. Many middle class people with fire in the belly and business idea is able to set up businesses. India's largest broking company is in Bangalore. It's not in Mumbai. It's not run by a Gujarati Marwadi. I mean, Kotak was the largest broker. They have money also and they have brain also, and yet they surrendered to Zerodha. Talent and capital is making the biggest difference. And on top of it, now look at infrastructure. Now, while our city infrastructure is bad, outside of city infrastructure has started developing. Roads, ports, power, telecom, airport, rail electrification. Slowly and steadily we are moving from infrastructure deficit to infrastructure availability. Today we have learned that it takes about 5 hours for a cargo to move from a factory in Bangalore to get loaded onto the aeroplane. Bangalore customs has become model customs in India where clearance times is less than 5 hours. Now, can this be replicated in other parts of the country? So there is infrastructure coming into play. Now you put these three things together, talent, capital, infrastructure, the roadmap to Viksit Bharat gets created. And already we are seeing certain good signs. For example, between 2004 and 2014, India and Sub-Saharan Africa countries' GDP was moving in tandem. Now, we are moving way ahead of Sub-Saharan Africa GDP. So clearly our GDP is accelerating. From 10th largest economy in 2014, we have become 5th largest, and in a couple of years we should become 3rd largest. So what we are seeing getting differentiated vis-a-vis Africa is also seeing getting differentiated vis-a-vis rest of the world. And this growth is coming with prudence. Unlike US, UK, Spain, Canada, where the debt to GDP ratio is running at 100%, 150%, 200%, 250%, our debt to GDP ratio is still 80%. I'm not mortgaging my kids' future to survive in my present. But the American parents will not be able to say that. US is 7 times bigger than us in GDP. Their credit card debt is 40 times higher than us. And their student loan is 90 times higher than us. In fact, their student loans of all Americans is more than all the loans Indians have taken, including auto, housing, personal, student, credit card, everything. In India, if we take housing loan, all of us do prepayment, and 30-year housing loan gets prepaid within 8 or 9 years on an average. In America, a day will come when kids will pay for student loan of their father and mother. That's the kind of situation which is going to come over there. So we are laying the foundation with talent, capital, infrastructure, and a reasonably good economics. Now, obviously, there will be challenges which we'll have to overcome. The first and the biggest challenge is technology. We missed out on industrial revolution, and for next 200 years, thanks to colonization, our growth rate became zero. For 200 years, from 1950 to before, we just didn't grow. Now, if we miss AI, ML revolution, can our growth rate plummet? There are few examples which gives you confidence that we will be able to overcome technological challenge. We have invested in explosive company in Nagpur, which is today exporting explosives to Sweden, home of Dr. Alfred Nobel, inventor of explosives. They have made explosives which will have only light, no sound. So you can blast even in an eco-sensitive terrain. There is a company in Bangalore, an auto component company. They have become first company in entire world in Toyota ecosystem to get contract for manufacturing of engine spare part. Toyota hitherto produced all engine and engine spare parts inside the company. First time they are giving it outside, and that's a Bangalore-based company. There is a company whose IPO has very recently come from Rajkot. They make CNC machine. Their machines are 40% cheaper than their competitor, and they are making of such quality that Apple is using that to make iPhones in Hosur. There's another company whose IPO has come. In the entire Mitsubishi ecosystem of vendors who make turbine, they are the only company which has delivered a particular fineness of metal which Mitsubishi wants for making next generation turbine. So whether they are established companies like Tata's, Birla's, Ambani's, Adani's, or they are small and medium enterprises, there is hope that India should be able to capture technology wave, and we won't miss this out like industrial revolution. This is more of an exception to the rule than the rule yet, but I think we are moving in right direction. The second challenge which we will face is power. Our PLF on thermal power plants at about 81%. This summer we may witness power cuts, and in Bangalore I am already seeing power cuts. I think this will spread to the rest of the India also. Next 2-3 years power capacity is not coming up, and we may witness power shortages like we were seeing it before. Can a divine intervention come? Answer is yes. There is about 30,000 megawatt of power capacity with state electricity boards. They run it at a PLF of 50. If they give to NTPC, whose PLF is about 80 plus, then maybe we'll get 8, 9, 10,000 megawatt of extra capacity over a period of time. And that will help us bridge 2-3 years of power shortage. Will our state and central government truly work in cooperative spirit, or they'll say hell with everyone else, but we'll have power shortages? Let's see. The third challenge which India will face is related to funding your investment. We are good savers, but we are bad investors. As a country, in 21 years, we have spent about $373 billion in import of gold. This does not include gold smuggling, and we all know every day gold gets confiscated at airport. We also know that when you are looking at airport, and if especially flights are arriving from Dubai and Singapore, you suddenly see Bappi Lahiri cousins coming out loaded with gold jewelry. Collectively, would we have spent about $500 billion in import of gold, silver, diamond, pearl in just 21 years of this century? This is more than foreign direct investment we have received. This is more than foreign portfolio investment we have received. We are in need of capital, and we are exporting capital on a net basis. And what are we doing with this gold? Majority goes into Tijori and safe deposit locker. It's a frozen saving. Who knows how much gold we have? Is it $1.5 trillion? Is it $2.5 trillion? Who knows? Is there a way we can unlock this frozen gold and put it into economy? If through some divine intervention, and truly we will need blessings of Padmanabha Swami and Tirupati Devsthanam and so on and so forth, suddenly we will have enough capital to carry out our investment activity. Even if we don't monetize gold, can we monetize other portion? For example, Rajesh bhai, in last 3 years, RBI has published households' financial flow data, and in mutual fund, we have got about 4 lakh crore. And as you know, in last 3 years, mutual funds have delivered very good return. But households have put 9 lakh crore in currency notes. And currency note is depreciating asset. Inflation hits currency notes year after year. How do Rajesh bhai we go and convince people on street that boss, why are you investing in currency notes which is depreciating? Why don't you invest in mutual fund which is appreciating? I mean, our savings is getting wasted like this. 9 lakh crore in currency notes and 4 lakh crore in mutual fund. Direct equity is less than 1 lakh crore. I mean, CNBC वाले को तो बेचारे को शर्म आएगी कि बस मैं 24 घंटे बकबक करता रहता हूँ एंड फिर भी करेंसी नोट सेल्स मोर देन दी equities in this country. So our savings habit is good, but our investment habit is bad. And education has nothing to do with investment. India's most literate state is Kerala. Till last year, cumulative retail equity mutual fund AUM of Kerala was 15,000 crore. Now, because markets have run up, it would have become 20,000 crore. And annual spending by Kerala on lottery is more than 15,000 crore. And Martin has proven it. I mean, the most educated audience of India's state spends money on lottery where you are bound to lose money. And in mutual funds, people are overall bound to make money, not everyone, but overall. And yet, what they spend annually on lottery is not the cumulative AUM of equity mutual fund over last 25-30 years. So, how do we monetize our savings and channelize into productive investment? Then the growth can take off. One challenge will be also good economics equal to good politics. Today elections are being fought over freebies, and you have seen various other states are seeing. One of the demand is old pension scheme. Today also there is a news that government employees wants to go on strike for OPF. Old pension scheme guarantees last drawn salary into some ratio to government employees. And then early 2000 we launched new pension scheme. Today in a state like Bihar, old pension scheme accounts for 49% of their tax revenue. So every 100 rupee Bihar government earns, 49 rupees goes in payment of pension. If they adopt old pension scheme for all those employees after 2000, I think 75% will go towards payment of pension. There will be no money left to pay interest or salaries or run electricity or hospital or school or college or anything. And Bihar is not alone. There are so many states which are somewhere in that line. Entire Northeast, more than half of revenue goes only in payment of pension. When we work with government people, they also want old pension scheme because it's guaranteed return. And I have to tell those young guys that, if you adopt this, your salary and your contribution will be used to pay old pension scheme to other employees. By the time you retire, there will be no government, there will be no country, and there will be no pension. तो कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है. And yet they are willing to take the risk of guaranteed pension, and they are all pushing for OPF. We can't afford to score a self-goal like that. We need to ensure that freebies remain under control and we are able to create good economics equal to good politics. I think we have a reasonably good chance to become Viksit Bharat by 2047. Talent, capital, infrastructure will all come into play. Our entrepreneurs will go and master the art of technology. We just need to channelize our savings so that we can support them in investment. And we need to ensure that governance remains on the right side of economics and not the wrong side of economics. if we put all these things together, there will be challenges, but eventually we will do well. One final point. Today there are states which are as big as yesterday's India. So Maharashtra's GDP today is equivalent to India's GDP in 2005. In 17 years, Maharashtra reached where yesterday India was. UP, Uttarakhand are equivalent to 2001 India, and Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Karnataka are equivalent to 2000 India. So in about 20 odd years, the 6 states have reached where yesterday India was. Now UP is already talking about $1 trillion GDP, which will be 25% of today's India. Maharashtra obviously is talking about $1 trillion. And very soon Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka will talk about $1 trillion. Over the next 20 years, if these states continue to work as hard as last 20 years, they will create probably equivalent of today's India. So effectively 5 times today's India will be created in these 6 states over the next 20 years. And then there are 23 other states which are also doing something. Obviously that journey will have its own ups and downs and we'll have to manage challenges. But we have done that in the past and will do it in the future. Put together, can we create a roadmap to the Viksit Bharat? Answer is yes. The journey will be tough. We'll all have to work hard. But I think today we have all the necessary ingredients to achieve that Viksit Bharat goal. And let's hope and pray that we are successful. Happy to take your questions.
So compliments, lovely talk. I think the brilliance of the talk was only matched by the narrative style, if I may say so. Also, I think in layman's language, it was very easily understood. I think giving examples when you talk data makes people understand it much better than just throwing numbers. So, so may I start my question with an example?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's a story that we all were taught in marketing many years back. Apparently, maybe 50 years back, somebody came from abroad into India to do a market recce on, how is this country and so on and so forth. This was a shoe company, and they said more than 50% of the people are walking barefoot, and this is a very bad market for shoes and footwear. They went back and they forgot about it. 5 years later, they said it's a very highly populated country, so let's see what can happen. They said somebody else. So this person came back after 5 years and said 50% of the country is walking barefoot. Massive opportunity.
Yeah.
We should launch immediately. So my question is, say, what are the growth opportunities for entrepreneurs, for retail investors, or whatever it is for India in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10, whatever period? That's
sure.
The question.
So essentially our opportunity is to find the right entrepreneur. A right entrepreneur will figure out a way to ride India wave. Now, whether it's in manufacturing, services, or even agriculture, a right entrepreneur who has vision, who has execution capability, they will be able to create something worthwhile. Time again could be different. And I'll give you some of the examples. For example, in the services sector, today almost 1/3 of doctors in US are made in India or Indian origin. UK it will be about 40% and Middle East it will be about 50%. In fact, UK is importing as we speak 2,000 Indian doctors to solve their problem. Their NHS has a high workload and that's why they need 2,000 Indian doctors. Now, the medicines consumed by Americans by volume, 40% of that is supplied by India. Value-wise, it is just 10%. So we are not charging Americans the way we should be charging. But fair enough. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are following there. Now, in terms of cost of treatment, uh, in cancer, there is a latest technology called CAR T cell. In Tata Memorial, they launched it in 3 months after it was introduced in US. And they have cured the first patient at 90% cheaper cost. What costed 4 crores in US is 40 lakhs in India. Now, 40 lakhs is unaffordable to most Indians. But if they get the scale, this 40 lakhs would probably become 10-15 lakhs. There is one more medicine which we have launched recently. It's 99% cheaper than US. And that also came in headlines last week only. Some hydroxy something. So could we see a Infosys, TCS, Wipro equivalent healthcare company? Y2K necessitated India's IT company. Aging world with unfunded healthcare will create India's healthcare company. They'll provide doctors, they'll provide medicines, and they'll provide treatment. They'll do physical consultation, they'll do virtual consultation. They'll treat you in America, they'll treat you in Bangalore. Now, how do we facilitate this? Will we see $1 billion plus healthcare companies in the days to come? Answer is undoubtedly yes. If we don't create, world will force us to create. Come to the agriculture side. Today, we have not converted our agriculture into products. Nagpur oranges are the best, but where is Tropicana brand from India? Now, will there be entrepreneurs who will create that kind of agro-processing to create globally suitable brand? Answer is undoubtedly yes. We have the world's most fertile land. US is bigger than us, but their fertile land is not as big as India. So we will be able to capture even agriculture. On the manufacturing side, I've given you some examples. So any entrepreneur who is having vision, execution, and governance in any sector, we just have to stay invested with them. Some will deliver instant return, some will deliver return over a period of time. But a portfolio of that will be the best way to participate in India growth story.
Two separate questions with a common thread. I think the kind of growth that we're talking of in Viksit Bharat will never happen until unless we are seeing the farmers participate in this growth in a big way.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, 50% of India's people are still struggling, then it doesn't work for us. And all the solutions that seem to be getting implemented there seem to be band-aid solutions rather than holistic solutions. Come election time, then you have some doles and fertilizers subsidized, so on and so forth. So I think real things like how do we generate employment for those people who get more from there? How do we make land cheaper? How do we encourage labor participation and workforce and so on? That kind of holistic thinking seems to be missing across all dispensations, including the current dispensation, of which otherwise I am a great fan. Just taking the same thread, I think at the risk of sounding a little harsh, it's quite disgraceful that in today's day and age, we are still talking of Bijli, Sadak and Pani for capital cities and large cities. These were issues of villages 25 years ago, and I remember Congress lost Madhya Pradesh thanks to Bijli, Sadak, Pani in 2003. And today, it's not just Bangalore. Bangalore is perhaps the most extreme example, but Delhi suffers from pollution. Mumbai, the last time I saw it, was not really looking like it's in great shape. And we build fancy airports, which look world class, but it takes us 2 hours to reach there. And just to get into one micro detail, even within that, you hear isolated, fortunately, but you hear cases where sufficient wheelchairs are not available, so therefore a poor 80th-year-old man passes away, or Rajesh was telling me I should go to Mysore on the new expressway. I reached there in 3.5 hours. It took me 2.5 hours to reach the expressway and then 1 hour from there to reach Mysore. So I think the common thread is there is some kind of a lack of holistic thinking of how problems can be addressed. Unfortunately, many of these lie in the realms of what the government of the day can do. So, how do you think this can be changed? I'm asking you this question also because you're part of the Prime Minister's EAC, Economic Advisory Council. So, hopefully, people like you, something good will get done. So, if you can throw some light.
Sure. So, all you have mentioned is the fact. But how much of this is responsibility of government versus citizens? When we go to abroad, we wouldn't mind waiting in visa line for 3 hours. But if you are asked to wait for 15 minutes for wheelchair, you don't want to wait. Didn't you wait in US immigration for 3-4 hours? Did anyone complain? No. Didn't you wait for US visa for 2 years? Did you complain? No. When it comes to US, we are subservient. When it comes to India, we lose our decency. If it's the traffic problem of bad roads or bad drivers also. Wrong side driving, we think it is our birthright. I mean, why should you be driving wrong? We lack discipline, we lack decency. At airport, if you see, people will put their trays where it is. I mean, why don't you go and pick it up? If we are told to stand in a queue, will we be able to ever form a queue? So, lot of our challenge is civilization challenge. We all know how to keep our house clean, but we never know how to keep our colony clean. We think that's the job of Bhangi. That's the job of Kachrewala. But we don't realize that they are the people who are cleaning kachra. We are the people who are creating kachra. So हम लोग कचरा वाले हैं. वो तो साफ करने वाले हैं. But in your house, if a person comes to pick up garbage, हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे? बेटा कचरा वाला आया है. अरे वो तो कचरा साफ करने वाला है. तुम कचरा वाले हो. We teach our kids that wrong thing. So there is a challenge for us as a society. And the government also comes from the same society. It doesn't come from upstairs. So will we be able to get the goodness of Indians as a society? We have many good things, but there are few rough edges which we need to fine tune. Now on agriculture, when Chief Minister Modi was running Gujarat, their growth rate was 9%. Highest ever in agriculture. What Chief Minister Modi could do, Prime Minister Modi is unable to do. Why? Because as Chief Minister, he could complete Sardar Sarovar Narmada Nigam. Now, in Gujarat, you can build that, but how do you build it in whole of India when agriculture is a state subject? Second, he could tell Gujarati farmers that if you want uninterrupted power, please pay charges, no free electricity. Otherwise, live with interrupted power. Farmers were put into jail for not paying electricity bill, but he delivered uninterrupted power. People started paying, and that's how Gujarati agriculture moved forward. Third, he could dismantle APMC. Today, traders make money and farmers not. In Lasulgaon, Nasik onion market, whenever traders come to sell, it is the lowest price, and whenever traders come to sell, it is the highest price. The farmers don't benefit. So he said, okay, dismantle APMC. You are free to sell wherever you want to sell. All those things made a difference. Irrigation, APMC, moving to cash crop like cotton and groundnut. productivity increase. All those things made a difference, and that's why agriculture in Chief Minister Modi's time grew at 9%. There is a model available for rest of the country to copy agriculture. Can we copy it? Urea, there's 2.5 lakh crore subsidy. A lot of it is also getting diverted into other things. We are wasting urea. As a policy, you are giving huge subsidy on urea and much less subsidy on that N and P out of K. Now, there are policy errors also. But we try to bring the farm laws. A minority of people protesting that could derail entire thing. We have a sell-side analyst in Mumbai who is coming from a farmer family in Meerut. So he published a research report saying that farm laws are good. So I said, will you go and talk this to your family in Meerut? He said, no. I remember, why will you not tell this to your family? He said, nahi. I can't go and talk to my parents that farm laws are good because they are vehemently opposing it. Now in the entire family there was one educated person, but he doesn't have courage to go and explain to his parents that farm laws are good and they need to do it. So there are vested interests which is derailing the whole thing. How do we move forward? So like Coca-Cola, their CSR is to increase apple yield in Himachal Pradesh. How are they doing it? Apparently in apple tree, it doesn't matter what is the size of the tree, small or big, but per acre yield is, let's say, 5,000 kg. Now, Himachali apple trees are very large, so the size of the trees is occupying more space per acre and hence the yield comes down. What Coca-Cola has done, they have brought down size of the tree by importing, half-grown trees from Netherlands or some other place. And in 1 acre now they are able to plant more trees and the yield has gone up from 5,000 kg to 25,000 kg because you are putting more trees per acre by reducing the size of the tree. The quality of apple remains the same. Now, can we get this kind of technology to change product yield and then deliver better income to the farmers? Farmers also have to be responsible. There was a multinational company which wanted to buy potatoes and tomatoes from farmer. So they entered into a contract in a North Indian state. Whenever potato prices were higher, these people sold potato into the market, which they were supposed on contract to give it to company, and said, oh, the crop failed, sorry, I can't give anything. Whenever potato prices were lower, they'll buy from the market, mix it with their potatoes and give it to them. Twice, thrice, that multinational company tolerated. Finally, they shut down the business and went away. Now government have to buy all those things. So how do you enforce a contract with farmer? If you try to enforce a law against them, your government will be in trouble. So we have lots of vested interest and societal mindset which is restricting agriculture development. Today, if we break India, 30% India is in either middle income or large. 1% Indians live lifestyle of French citizen. 27% lives lifestyle of Indonesia, which is middle income. But 72% live sub-Saharan Africa in Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, UP and so on and so forth. They need to move to Indonesia style. And that can only happen, as you correctly mentioned, if we push agriculture. But for agriculture to grow, we need 91 kind of reforms of liberalization. Provide electricity but pay for the charges. Give urea subsidy but also on potassium and that other thing, NPK. Dismantle APMC so that farmers can benefit and not the intermediaries. Many years ago, I had gone to visit Lasulgaon market. तो वो ट्रेडर के घर पे खाना खाने गए थे. उसकी जो चारपाई थी वो चांदी की थी, नॉर्मली वुड की रहती है, बट वी वर सिटिंग ऑन अ चारपाई विच वॉज मेड ऑफ सिल्वर. And this I am talking about when I was analyst, so must be 30 years back or 25 years back. The traders were eating the malai and farmers were not getting anything. If we dismantle APMC, promote that government e-marketplace, allow startups to trade in agriculture commodities. So it's a long journey and it will require more support at the state level. Because agriculture is a state subject, it is not a central subject. So government has a long task ahead, and more importantly, you have to convince farmers. Farmers are emotional. One of the reasons that sell-side analysts said that I'll never be able to tell my parents is that number one, they have stopped reading newspapers because they said newspapers to sab शहरी लोगों के लिए हैं. So they go by their WhatsApp. In their WhatsApp or social media dissemination, they have been told that by Ambanis and Adanis will come and take away your mother, which is land. Now they are so emotionally attached to land that they are not able to think whether that message is right or wrong. Now we'll have to connect with them, convince them that boss, we are not taking away land or your mother. We are trying to help you get better realization like it has happened in some places. So it's a long, arduous task, no doubt about it. But at least in Amul, we have a positive example. Amul has undoubtedly impacted millions of farmers, given them a livelihood, and hopefully, Amulization of rest of the agriculture commodities could create wonders.
One quick follow-up question. I think you talked about the productivity increase of farmers, which I think is a very important thing. The other is about reducing the number of people who are engaged in farming activity itself, which means all these people now need to get jobs, and that will mean land acquisition becomes simpler, labor law becomes simpler, and so on. So some of those perhaps are a little more possible.
So again, Narayan Murthy says work 70 hours a day and people are in revolt. There was a statement of Charlie Munger that why are Americans losing to Koreans? Because Korean works 84 hours a week. Their kids come back from school and study 4 hours more. He said, no wonder you are losing against them. One generation of Indians will have to work very, very hard. That's what Japanese did. That's what Koreans did. If you read Sony founder's autobiography, I mean, when bombs were raining, they were still working. One generation of Indians will have to work hard. There's no choice. Unless until they work 84 hours a week, there's no solution. And it's not that people are not working. Some people are really working very, very hard. They are working in tough conditions. But how do we bring their hard work into smart work? So this example will kind of explain. If you remember 15 years ago, all of us were putting those films on our car windows. And we were putting those films because that would have stopped sun rays coming into our car and reduced load on AC, and we'll have better mileage. One day in a dark parking lot in Delhi, an unfortunate incident occurred in a car which was having those kind of dark films. But the whole parking lot was unlit. One kind gentleman, noble soul from Kolkata, read that and filed a PIL in Supreme Court. Supreme Court Open Motor Vehicle Act, which was drafted by Englishmen. In Motor Vehicle Act, there's no clarity whether you can affix a film on window or not. So Supreme Court took an interpretation that no one can put a film on a window. Entire country's police was asked to remove films. वो सिग्नल तोड़ दो वांदा नहीं, आदमी उड़ा दो वांदा नहीं, but film नहीं होना चाहिए. We removed films across more than 2 crore automobiles. Each film was costing 25,000-30,000 rupees. So 25,000 into 2 crore, 50,000 crore of yours and mine gone. Second, there were units which were making those films all shut down, bearing 1 or 2. There were mechanics which were fixing those films, their jobs gone or their income came down. Collectively, even today, we are paying 10 to 12,000 rupees, 12,000 crore more for petrol because our AC load is increased. And has the unfortunate incident stopped? Answer is no. People can put dark glasses, that's fine, because there's nothing affixed on it. People can put curtains on car, and there are brave people, crooks, who will do anyway bad things. What did we achieve by this? There's a company which makes these films and exports to 56 countries around the world. They are based in Mumbai. Their product saves environment and helps save money in 56 countries around the world except their own mother country. And it's now 15 or 18 years and we have yet not amended Motor Vehicles Act. And the best part, the films which this company was making were all transparent films. There was no dark film. So dark glass gets permitted, but transparent film is not permitted. Collectively, would we have lost about 1,50,000, 1,80,000 crore? Answer is yes. If that money was saved instead of giving to Arabs and Venezuela and others, how many schools, hospital, colleges we would have created? One single decision and it hurts us so much. How do we build processes, systems so that such decisions are avoided? I mean, it looks like a sad story or, jaane bhi do yaro ki tarah. But this is the reality of India, which is what we'll have to remove.
It's pretty good. Thank you very much.
So my question is on judicial pendency, being a lawyer, I think
Yes.
experts, and Viksit Bharat. So how are we going to bring down this judicial pendency? Because I think this is also hurting the investment also, because
Absolutely.
being a lawyer, I find that what is it, I have no answer to say how long it is going to take for a dispute to be resolved with all these areas coming in, mediation. Because if a person goes to challenge an arbitration award, then by the time you go up to the Supreme Court, it is going to take you 10 years. So how are you going to convince foreign investors to come into this country? And look at the number of cases which are pending. And yesterday also, I think some of the ASOCAM and others went to the Supreme Court and they were asked not to come in because they went out of turn. So there are a lot of out of turn cases which are coming up to the top and getting heard. But look at there are 2014 onwards matters are pending in the Supreme Court. So how are we going to get out of this? I think this mess is really bad. I think how are we going to address this issue is...
So, ma'am, solutions are available. But will that get implemented? I don't know. In a lighter vein, yesterday I showed Tushar Mehta's clip against Chandrachud. If we ban all the lawyers from speaking my lords and yes lord, the debates will come down by half. If you see his 2-minute speech, he's probably spoke 20 times my lord, my lord, my lord. Just ban it. Straight away your productivity will go up by 100%. Straight. Now this is obviously a lighter vein comment and not every lawyers will be speaking my lord, but in that Tushar Mehta clip, he spoke in 2 minutes 20 times my lord. Second, there are today artificial intelligence available, like there is IBM Watson. There is another tool which has come up, and someone mentioned legal tech. Maybe you'll have better idea. Now, check bouncing case. Is there a need for human intervention? Answer is no. If the judges are willing to give their power, AI will solve check bouncing cases in no time. You straight away will take out 40 lakh cases from Indian judiciary. But can government push? That answer is no. It has to be coming out of judiciary. If we automate our judicial system, issuance of warrants, issuance of orders, automatically pendency will come down. If we allow people to come online rather than in person, things will change. So I think tools are available. The real need is for judiciary to evolve, because if government tries to push it, if public pressure tries to push it, they are going to revolt. And which is where we'll need an internal cleanup. And I think a target is worth giving to them, that when foreigners come to India, they should take India as a place of arbitration and not Singapore. Just achieve one simple objective. I'm not remembering the story exactly, but hopefully you will get the message. So in Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos was the dictator, and Aquino, a leader, came after watching Gandhi, and he was shot dead at the Manila airport. And then people revolted, and Imelda Marcos and Ferdinand left. And Cory Aquino, widow of Beno Aquino, became the Prime Minister or President of Philippines. She was a housewife suddenly becoming leader, and obviously she couldn't manage Philippines well. Then she went out and someone else came in. And eventually her son, I think he was also called Beno Aquino, came. And at that point of time, Philippines was one of the, kind of behind country compared to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. And most Filipinos were looking to go abroad for opportunities. So he discussed with all his colleagues and said, how do I make Philippines a Viksit Philippines equivalent? So they said, you focus on just one thing. All your policy should result into credit upgrade of Philippines. No matter what you do, always evaluate, will this policy help me upgrade Philippines credit rating or not? So one single objective. And Beno Aquino ran his entire government against that one benchmark. Every policy, every decision he evaluated against whether this will upgrade Philippines credit rating or not. I think by the time his term ended, growth rate had accelerated, credit rating was upgraded, and there was higher per capita income. So, like one objective, push everything to achieve that. Judiciary has to have one goal, that will become so good that any foreigner coming to India will take India as a place of arbitration and they will not go abroad. The day we achieve that, judicial problems will be resolved. But this can't be pushed by the government. This has to be by the judiciary itself.
Say two things on this.
Yeah. Yes.
There will be two sets of people who get summer holidays. Children in schools and the legal system. Okay, even now. Second, the highest office in the country, if you accept it, is the PMO. You can criticize against it. You can do cartoons against it in media and press, and you can have debates in various fields, but you can't against a single legal person. It's not allowed.
Yeah, contempt of court.
Contempt of court. It's not allowed.
I think some of the questions were already spoken, but I was speaking to one of the politicians. He said, being in politics, I have a power to do something only when I am got elected. Right?
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, whether it's a farmer issue or a freebies or the pension schemes, which is likely to jeopardize the country's probability of success going forward. We need to find a solution which is more sustainable. But unfortunately, there is a central level elections which are now run differently. The state level election, in fact, one of the reasons why certain states, like including Karnataka, the government got changed because of the freebies. But on the other side, I normally keep speaking to the guys who, when you travel, say taxi driver or somebody like that. There are some conscious taxi drivers. They say that we decide not to take that 3 lady ka 2,000 rupees per month, some subsidy every month. Karnataka government has announced, right? Said not to take because feel it is not right for us to take. There is a conscious guy at the lowest level, he is still conscious. But unfortunately, the population is still small.
Yes.
But because we are talking about countries, Viksit Bharat, let's say 2047, one of the biggest reasons why a country could go get into problems is some of these issues. Is there any solution being thought through in the government circle? Because one party does, so other party try to do more. If this keeps happening, obviously there is no future left, right? Being thought for some sustainable solution where some collective wisdom or something is being done on education. Is there any such thoughts going on currently?
So, on education, undoubtedly, our education system is very, very weak. We have some pockets of excellence, but on an average, education is really, really bad. I work with an NGO called Parivar, which is trying to provide food and basic education to tribal Madhya Pradesh. And it's a tough task. Those kids are unlikely to get proper education in a normal school. They'll have to be taught in a different manner, in a language and in a way where they can understand. Otherwise, people will just, making them pass, but they'll never learn. So, undoubtedly, we have a big challenge on education. How do we improve upon it? I think it is said that Bill Gates' kids also learned mathematics from Salman Khan lecture. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I have read it somewhere. But undoubtedly, Salman Khan lectures are good quality. Can we create Salman Khan equivalents who can give remote learning to entire India? And today, thanks to Jio, we have 5G network. Most people will have access to a smart instrument. And if we can deliver education at doorstep on digital format in a manner which everyone can understand, a larger problem will be solved. The second is, like in India, we have more schools than China. But is our quality of education better than China? Answer is no. Why do we have more skills? Because we didn't want kids to walk beyond a limit. Now, if you start putting smaller schools, how will you provide it infrastructure? I mean, can we take a tough decision? Yes, our kids will walk little longer. As parent, we will allow them to walk longer, but at least build schools with proper infrastructure. Fewer schools but better schools, and let kids walk little longer. Now, politicians can't say this, but civil society will have to make this statement. If all of us can do that, then suddenly quality of education can improve. Digitization and larger schools, that will be the way forward. The other thing, my wife was a professor in college, and fortunately I get paid well. So we never had to use her salary account. And like whenever I used to file her income tax return, I'll see like monies are going in and out, in and out, in and out. And then I'll ask कि boss तुम कर क्या रहे हो? ये जा रहा है, आ रहा है, जा रहा है, खाली entry ही बन रही है. He said, no, this is all the money I lent to my colleagues because by the month end, they are short of money. Now we say, Gurudev Bhava and blah, blah, blah. But Guru का घर ही नहीं चलता है. So how do we, compensate well? Again, if there are fewer schools, maybe we will be in a position to compensate well. So it's combination of things which will come into play, but digitization will play the biggest role on education. I think next government's priority will be healthcare and education, both using digitization.
Good evening, my name is Dhirendra. I have been an entrepreneur all my life. I run a assessment at tech company, but I'm involved in a lot of social work. The challenge, when I started work in 1983, we just decided, hey, we're going to start a company and start moving on. But today, the kind of challenges an entrepreneur has to face, especially with the compliance issues. India is a country of entrepreneurs. Mind-boggling, jugadu entrepreneurs, if you ask me, right from the individual who sells vegetables, on the street, where he's competing with 10 people and yet they all get their share. What I see is happening today is the compliance and the kind of regulations that you have to follow make a lot of middle class entrepreneurs not wanting to get into entrepreneurship. The other challenge is that not the government cannot provide all the jobs in this world, and there's this huge thing that if you ask 80% of the semi-urban rural population, they all want government jobs only for that safety thing which you said, we get pension, etc. But I don't think we can pay pensions in the next 20 years because we're anyway still a very poor country. Now the government responsibility, while you mentioned, who should, when this gentleman asked that question, my point is that the elected and the electorate, there's a big gap. The person who's getting elected in today's world has a lot of money to fight elections, otherwise you will just not make it. I have enough friends who are in governance, and the numbers they talk are just mind-boggling. But I don't think, at least in my lifetime, I don't know any one of you, if you can earn that kind of money. You're spending between 50 to 100 crores, and then you recover that money through various schemes, and that's where the whole developmental model fails in many states. Is all this, India that way is not a poor country, it's a very rich country. We've got enough cash. You ask the government, you want any scheme, instantly few $1 billion will come up and it gets implemented also at the scale and speed that is mind-boggling. Classic example is Ayodhya. So if things need to be done, it gets done. But in a very systemic approach of development, and if we are a 1.3, possibly going to $1.5 billion people, we need millions of entrepreneurs. And I don't see that encouragement, while the government has, various schemes put in, but still, and also the banks. You represent a very, very progressive bank. I'm very proud to be associated by the way, with your bank. I see that, but the compliance issue just is mind-boggling. So what are your thoughts on that? Sorry, this was a bit too long, but I just wanted to get the perspectives right.
So Virendra, we are all living this. I work in a regulated industry and half of my time spent is on compliance, not on business. And many a times wonder, I get a notice or an observation that you should have written nil and you have written not applicable. अरे मैं तो गुजराती मीडियम का प्रोडक्ट हूँ, मेरे लिए नील एंड नॉट एप्लीकेबल आर सेम. मैं कौन सा विलियम शेक्सपियर की ग्रैंडसन हूँ? But I got an observation. And then I also sit on our Singapore company board. So when I get observation, I have to report to them. Now they issue observation for a criminal conduct or a fraud. Now when you say, I have been observed to write nil versus not applicable, they don't believe. They say, no, you must have committed some fraud. So now please come and explain everything. And I said, no, there is no fraud. I just wrote nil instead of not applicable. But they are in their mindset, we are in our mindset, so we have to suffer. Finally, they laugh at us saying that fair enough, like God knows which country you are living in. But again, has any one of us ever got any money from a politician for voting? No, our mates, our drivers get, we don't. But today only we were talking, in Bangalore, Friday is the election date and half of you will be running away for a holiday. how many of us will go and vote? And forget about you, I'm talking about myself. My wife has a voter's card, but she's not coming in that voter's app. I check mine and my daughter's, but my wife and my younger daughter, who has now become major, they are not appearing. I have told them, बस इलेक्शन आ रहा है, प्लीज करो, मोदी के लिए करो. उसके बाद भी कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं. So the blame lies at my end. I'm not able to convince my wife to, get registered as a voter. Then she'll blame the government. अरे मेरा नाम नहीं है, मेरा कार्ड है. But ma'am, please go and check. So part of this problem is also because we have a mindset issue. Our voter turnout is 50%, 52%, 53%. In the city of Bangalore, you have so many migrants. Are they all registered here? Unlikely. Will we run in our office a campaign that all of them become registered here and will go out and vote? I mean, that's impossible. So we have lots of challenges, but on the compliance, digitization, automation is the answer. Like passport has now become a fairly simple thing. Filing income tax return has become fairly simple thing. GST has its own interpretational issue, but filing and processing has become fairly simple. Now, can we create a mechanism where the compliance burden is faced by the crooks and not by the innocent people? In our stock market, people who manipulate stock prices and make money, they are very happy to violate law because they'll hire best of the lawyers and get away. We who are running business in a normal fashion, we follow all this compliance burden, and then you get observation, oh, you wrote nil and you should have written not applicable. But I think as we automate and digitize, a lot of these issues will get sorted out. And second, I guess we'll have to create a pyramid on the entrepreneur side. If IT was dominated by small and medium enterprises, it would have never touched $200 billion size. The scale, the efficiency, the longevity which they brought. Today, our IT companies will benefit because Atos and Telenos are going bankrupt. If we were the Atos and Telenos of the world, they would have benefited. So how do I create a Maruti Suzuki equivalent company which eventually helps create Mothers and Sumi? How do I create Infosys, TCS, Wipro, which will eventually create at the bottom end other types of companies from catering to cab to real estate to others? Like in US, if you see, there are large companies in different cities. They are not all focused in just San Francisco and New York. In Austin, Texas also you will get something. In Chicago you will get something. In some God-forsaken corner you will get something. Can we create that kind of scenario in India where few large companies become the anchor? What Jamshedji Tata did with Tata Steel in Jamshedpur, we haven't really created that kind of industrial city ever. So, are there solutions available? Answer is yes. We need civil society and political leadership coming together. Are we moving in right direction? Answer is yes. Can the speed be enhanced? Answer is yes. If we really pick up the speed like we did with income tax return, like we did with passport, we'll become Viksit Bharat way before 2047. But is it going to happen? Answer is no. We will change when pressure comes to us. 10 मैच जीतेंगे. You and me together.
वो तो बहुत ही broad statement है. Unfortunately, given the size of the country and the diversity that we have, see, already the southern states are saying, boss, we want to separate from India in that sense because we are paying more taxes. So I think that the leadership at both state and central government.
So
obviously needs some kind of IIM.
I mean, I'll just give you one data point. Tamil Nadu is a better state than Bihar in terms of income. Undoubtedly, yes, no one will dispute it. Tamil Nadu has got far more Manrega allocation from center than Bihar. So this whole humbug that, oh, we are paying more taxes is all bullshit. It's a political narrative. I mean, I can say that Bombay is paying 50% of income tax, but does it make any sense? The Tata Steel is just registered in Mumbai. They don't operate out of Mumbai. The taxes are coming from Bihar, from Orissa, from Jharkhand. So how can I say that Mumbai is paying all income tax? At the end of the day, in the past we have fallen apart and we lost to colonization because we were all trying to build our own silos. Now we have come together as a country, and as long as we are together, we have an opportunity to become Viksit Bharat. If we again get divided on caste, religion, southern versus northern, rich versus poor, then there is limited hope.
Srini, please.
You touched upon a topic of election freebie. So my question is related to that. So often we have been seeing, at least in the southern part of India, a lot of election promises are being made towards freebies. And even though the state government says they start implementing, they start feeling the pain. And I'm sure a couple of industries, so we represent the alcohol space. So we started feeling the pain when they really are struggling with the state finances. Whether the government is planning to have some restrictions, regulations on announcement of freebies, whether it's capped to the state's revenue.
Nothing on the horizon, but like Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act came, can we put that? So today Kerala is facing that pain. They have certain limit in terms of state development loans borrowing. Their spending is higher. So automatically they are not able to borrow money. And now they have petitioned Supreme Court saying that Government of India should bail us out. I hope and pray that Supreme Court doesn't give that kind of judgment, because then every state will get a freedom to do that route. So, I mean, one thinking is that can we allow market forces to find out the right equilibrium? Because on one side, giving food to 80 crore Indians is freebie, but necessary freebie. But at the same time, giving television to someone is probably not necessarily freebie. So how do we create balance? The economics suggests that it should be market forces. Market forces will find out equilibrium. But in India, market forces does not necessarily work because of the vested interest intervention. So while we allow market forces to operate, can we also put a limit by FRBM kind of act that the maximum deficit you can carry is X, maximum debt to GDP which you can carry is Y, and this is cast in stone. Now US attempted it, but every time they revise that debt ceiling upwards. So how do we do it? It's a tough call, but I think the answer for an emerging market like India is in FRBM. Make it a constitutional part which puts restriction on government to how much they can leverage themselves. A pension should not exceed X percentage of budget. Salaries should not exceed Y percentage of budget. Debt should not exceed X percentage of GDP. But then, in India, if we draft law, people will find loophole in that. So when Supreme Court says, please declare your election bond, you can always say that someone dropped at my office, I don't know who it is. And you will get away. So ultimately, it is the responsible behavior from the constituency. There's no easy answer on that.
So, second question. Now, the last 10 years, we've been seeing the growth, the development, and related impact in the market.
Sure.
Selfishly, then we also our wealth creation, for our individual purpose. to a large extent it has helped. The government policies have helped. Personally, my concern is, every human has got a life cycle. So, what is the succession plan the government has got, to carry forward all? We are talking about 2047, 30 trillion economy. So, will we have leaders who will have the same aggression to continue this, growth story, development story? Because imagine, there's no proper successor. We don't want that to happen. But then, if you don't have a proper successor, the pace at which we went up, the fall can be even much, much higher. And one, it affects the country, and we as individuals, it's going to affect us.
So the answer is to create institutions rather than individuals. And Reserve Bank of India is the perfect example of building institution. I mean, since I started tracking RBI, we had Dr. Chakra C. Rangarajan, then Dr. Bimal Jalan, then Dr. Y.V. Reddy, then Dr. Subbarao, then Dr. Rajan, then Dr. Patel, then Shakti Kanta Das. By and large, RBI has done a great job. Now, one can argue, ye kharab tha, wo kharab tha, but I'm saying collectively, like Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz mentioned that if Dr. Y.V. Reddy was Fed governor, US would not have entered into subprime crisis. That's the compliment RBI is getting. And in a poor, underdeveloping country like India, they have managed our financial system reasonably well. Whether it was Asian crisis, whether it was Kargil war, whether it was nuclear sanctions, whether it was 2004 drought, whether it was TMT bubble, they have ensured that we have done well. Can we build institutional memory in various parts of the structure? So the courts of India, the Election Commission, the Niti Aayog, they all develop institutional memory and they learn from past and continue to build further on it. Has the RBI's functioning got impacted because there was a change in the leadership? To some extent, yes, because every individual has an impact. But overall, did they change the direction? Answer is no. By and large, under whichever governor, RBI delivered great. Institutionalization of our processes is the most important.
But we have seen the pace at which in the last 10 years. My question is towards that. We all know it's all driven by one or two individuals.
Agreed, but if NHI gets institutionalized, then whether Nitin Gadkari is road minister or someone else will still build road at the same pace. If I can institutionalize railway, then whether Ashwini Vaishnav is railway minister XYZ, I will still roll out Vande Bharat. If I can institutionalize my second wave of COVID memory and see how we have taken corrective action, then there's a rule book available if COVID-3 comes. So how do we institutionalize these things where individuals don't matter? And in a very crude way, the 60s, 70s, 80s Indian team was individual. A Bedi, Chandra Prasanna will do very well, a Gavaskar will do very well, but we were never the winning combo. Today, I mean, there is a winning combo. We have brilliance of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and so on and so forth. But it's a team which is delivering. The day Virat Kohli doesn't play, Yashasvi Jaiswal steps up. The day Yashasvi Jaiswal doesn't play, Ashwin steps up. When Ashwin had to run away, it didn't matter. The other 10 guys stepped up. I mean, we didn't miss Ashwin and we still won the match. So how do we create institutional mechanism? Now, is there a role of Rahul Dravid in it? Probably yes. Is there a role of that bowling coach, I'm forgetting his name, I think Arun Kumar or Bharat someone. Bharat Arun, huh. So it's all those people, even maybe, Michael Schumacher once mentioned that a large contribution to my success as a racing driver is my massage guy. He was Sardarji. वो मसाज करता था तो मैं ड्राइविंग कर सकता था. No, we'll never know there was a massage person behind Michael Schumacher unless until he shared. So institutionalization of cricket has made India number one team. Of course, there is Virat Kohli, but Virat Kohli जाएगा तो शुभमन गिल आएगा, शुभमन गिल जाएगा तो कोई और आ जाएगा. We have to create that. What we did with cricket, we have to do with many other institutes.
One question.
So my question is, so we all know that economy is going to do well, and it's a matter of time. In 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but it's going to do well. But are we really taking tab of what are the impact that it's going to create ecologically and environmentally, or are we just one directional? Like, we are just working towards the growth and economy and not keeping a tab of many other things. Like the vehicle numbers are going to go up by 5 times, 6 times. We are going from 4G, 5G to 6G, 8G, and many other impacts. But are we really keeping a tab of what can go the other way around and create environmental disasters which can really bring down the whole upside that we have seen in the recent past?
So and I'm just giving argument against. So this is just to balance things, not necessarily I'm disagreeing with you. We are the lowest per capita carbon emitter in the world. Despite pollution in Delhi, Mumbai, despite garbage in our cities. And Scandinavian nations, which are the most happy places to stay, they are the highest per capita contributor of carbon in the world. So ये एक दिखावा है that we are destroying our environment and they are not. No, our environment is also destroyed by them. Now, in our culture, if you see how we have grown, we have always believed in recycling. अगर आपका टोवेल यूज़ करते करते फट जाता है तो आप उसका वो पोछा बनाते हैं. एंड ये मुकेश अंबानी के घर में भी होता होगा. That is our culture. We know how to recycle. न्यूज़पेपर कितना भी बिलियनर होगा वो पस्ती में बेचता है. Now, how do we institutionalize this? There are many things which we have to learn, but our basic culture is of, I'm not getting the right English word for it, but what is known as कर कसरता. अब जरूरत से ज़्यादा खर्चा नहीं करें. In resources also we have to apply the same. And all of you know Vallabh Bhansali. Their foundation is putting basic environment related and civic related lessons in the educational curriculum. So the civic which we learned, and we were told that ये तो एकदम scoring subject है. We never learned. We just read it to score marks. They are revising that civic curriculum so that students become better. My guess is that our next generation will be far more responsible than us. As a kid, I would have thrown kachra on the road, but my daughter will not throw. And if I throw now, she'll probably ask me, Papa, utha lo. So it's a glass half full, glass half empty. And one thing is very clear, if we follow Chinese, American or Scandinavian model of growth, there will be no planet Earth left. We have to follow Indian model of creating growth with lowest per capita carbon emission. There is no choice for us, otherwise there will be no planet Earth left. So we have more responsibility. Now, can I get money out of Americans and Chinese and Scandinavians to pay for it? If you remember, we had that ozone depleting refrigeration gas. And then there was this company called Gujarat Fluorochem. They were making those CFC gases. And then they got money to make non-ozone depleting. And today Gujarat Fluoro, has become such a big company with Inox and everything else. So, गांव के पैसे लाके we should create environmental friendly products. The Gujarat fluoro is the perfect example.
So we have 9 more minutes. We
Yeah.
take 1 or 2 questions.
I have to catch a flight and Bangalore traffic.
Sure. I'm just changing some gears, sir. We talked about government, we talked about policies. I'm shifting the conversation a little bit to the equity markets because all of our money is also invested here.
Yes.
You're managing the largest fund house. What I'd like to understand is, recently SEBI made a remark on, SEBI chief made a remark on a lot of fraud being built up, and it has really shaken up the whole ecosystem. And there's a lot of question on mid cap, and being firm believers, mid cap is the true potential for the future and the growth of what India could be. What is your take? I would love to understand how do you see this whole froth concept as well as what it's actually going to materialize? And do you really believe mid cap is the next future for India?
Sure. So I'll just ask you one question. How many of you have bank account in Indian Overseas Bank? I'm the only guy who has IOB bank account. And how many of you have bank account in Axis Bank? Some of us. IOB today trades at double the valuation of Axis Bank. Should it trade? If it was a better bank, then certainly yes. But that's not the case. Otherwise, it will reflect in number of customers here. And this is trend all over South India. Why is IOB trading at double the valuation of Axis Bank? Because 96.4% of IOB is owned by Government of India and President doesn't trade in market. Of 3.6% left, something is with LIC, something is with IOB customers who don't sell. So the real floating stock in market is 1% or 2%. So आप जो भाव चाहे छप्पा दो, then that looks like a froth only. And when those corrects, people who have gone into that momentum without realizing that IOB trades at double the valuation of Axis Bank, they start crying. But someone has to prick the bubble. So there is a froth in the market in SME segment. Mohammad Azharuddin scored 3 centuries, and even today it is world record at debut consecutively. And I think Don Bradman scored 6 centuries. अपने SME इंडेक्स डॉन ब्रैडमैन बढ़ने वाला है. पिछले 5 साल से इट्स गिविंग 100% रिटर्न एवरी ईयर. नाउ आर दे SME कंपनीज लाइक डॉन ब्रैडमैन और मोहम्मद अजहरुद्दीन? नो, दे आर लाइक मनिंदर सिंह. अब वो सेंचुरी मारे 5 कंसेक्यूटिवली, तो ऑब्वियसली यू विल बी सेइंग इट इज अ फ्रॉथ. So SME exchange, this low floating stock counters, there is a froth. IRFC's per employee market cap is 5,000 crore. You think you will ever value a government employee at 5,000 crore? कोई chance नहीं है. The school in which I studied, I was told that if a company's salary is more than sales, that's not a good company. In December 23, BHEL declared a result where salaries were higher than sales. It made losses. Next day 12% ऊपर गया. मतलब मैं I should go back to my school and ask for a refund कि क्या सिखाया मेरे को. But I know my teachings were not bad. They were right. This is just a phase in the market where it is not working. Eventually it will work. So there is the froth where low floating stock, controlled holdings is resulting into this kind of situation. Rest of the market is optimistic. It's pricing in Modi's Sarkar, it's pricing in US Fed rate cut, it's pricing in governance, it's pricing in earnings growth. And which is why we are seeing our markets doing well. I think as long as we stay with good companies and good managers, with ups and downs, the India growth story itself will pull up the market. As of today, our growth is looking better compared to others, and which is why we are seeing more optimistic valuation. So will there be consolidation? Answer is yes. But that will happen not only on what we are doing, but also what others are doing. God forbid if Vladimir Putin goes out and some pro-Western president comes into Russia. I do expect Russia to get re-rated. People will dump India to go to Russia because it's 1/8 valuation of India. If Xi Jinping today says that I'm not going to touch Taiwan and Taiwan is buried for us, then maybe people will go to China because it's 1/3 valuation of India. So our line is looking good, but it is looking more good because others' line are looking smaller. If they start getting bigger, then our line will look smaller. So mid-caps are undoubtedly future, but as a portfolio. Because for every successful mid-cap, there will be failure. Every successful small cap, there will be more than 2-3 failures. So you need to follow a strategy of monkey to gorilla to King Kong. You have to rear a lot of monkeys. Then some of them will be strong. They'll become like gorilla. So you give them more food and one day they'll become King Kong. So when a King Kong happens, then you tell, boss, ये जब बच्चा था, monkey था, मैंने पैदा किया, पाला, अब King Kong बन गया. Don't talk about other monkeys which are dead. That's the way to invest in small and mid cap and large cap.
Sir, I'm sitting on money now. Should I put money now in March or April or June 4th?
So, I mean, if you had bought in March 2020, COVID time, and you enhanced your allocation to equity, then put money today itself. No problem, because you know what is risk, you'll manage risk. If you had sold in March, then please don't put money. This is not the market where you should put money, because you are very, very conservative person. Don't come now. Come after election when we are sure what's happening. If you had done nothing, then you come via STP route. See, we have to look at not the market but to us. How is my reaction? What is my risk appetite? I mean, I'll give you an example of a lady who is 75 years plus, and I've never met her. I've just heard this from a distributor. In March 20 or April 20, she gave a call to her distributor in Jaipur saying that, "Beta, mera sara paisa equity mein shift kar de." This distributor asked कि माँ जी ऐसा करना है, बहुत रिस्क है. She said, बेटा जान का भरोसा नहीं, अभी रिस्क नहीं लूंगी तो कब लूंगी? Now her wealth is 3 times more than what was before March 20, and the number of relatives have increased 6-7 times more. And she has earned in 3 years more than what she has earned in 75 years, including inheritance. So it's, like her wealth is her risk-taking ability. Yeah, and when I was narrating this incident, there was a CEO of a very famous hospital in Mumbai. He said, "Nilesh bhai, मेरा एकदम उल्टा हुआ. मैंने actually redeem किया March में, because I was seeing in hospital how deaths were happening. मुझे तो लगा कि सब मर जाने वाले हैं, तो थोड़ा कैश घर पे रखता हूँ, काम आएगा." Now, just look at the mindset. I've never met this lady, but I just presume that she won't be as educated as the CEO of the largest hospital company in Mumbai. I mean, this is just an assumption, no bias. And yet this guy couldn't take the risk. And this lady took the risk, and the return difference is there. It's not market, it is their risk-taking ability which has created an impact. So you take a call based on how your risk-taking ability is, not based on market.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think, as always, it's quite motivating, inspiring, and giving us a lot of confidence on how we have to go ahead. So before we break, can we just take a quick group photo and then